Hey, man, you don't mind if I play through, do you?
Sure can. Welcome to Playing Through.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to Playing Through, sponsored by Move Faster Golf.
Welcome, MFers. New set today, guys.
Yep, we're here with the relaxed look on the couch. We're here to introduce Jeff Berrard, owner of Midland Freeland Sports Rehab. Jeff has all sorts of things in the golf related and obviously spine and, any type of sports injuries and that type of stuff. And Jeff, welcome, obviously. We'd actually ask you, how did you get into your field of medicine and the things you do, and what brought you into the game of golf in general?
I grew up, I was one of 7 kids. My dad was always gone on the golf course. So
really?
to appease mom, he had to bring the boys, and he would drop us off at the golf course while he goes and plays in tournaments, and that's how it all started.
Nice.
Wow.
Yep.
That's great. 7 kids.
7. I'm number 6.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
So
Wow.
there's my dad, my 2 brothers, so we had a built-in foursome there.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
So, it's easy to pull the foursome together and get out and play.
Yeah. Otherwise, mom wouldn't have it, so the boys were with them.
Well, obviously, and you golf in general. I mean, you're a golf nut like the rest of us. What actually brought you into the game of golf in general? What made you start playing?
I just, like I said, Dad would drop me off at the course, and he'd give us with the club pro while he went and played, and just being able to be out with the boys, and it's a continuation of striving to be better, and you never get there, but you keep trying.
You'll never get there with golf.
Yeah, so it's I'm preaching to the choir here, but
right.
Definitely my choir.
Yeah.
Dean's choir is bigger than mine.
I'm beginning to learn you need some athleticism to be good at golf, but it took me a while to figure that out.
See, there's the ingredient. That's the problem with my game, the athleticism part. Well, hey, Jeff, we brought you in today. We want to talk a little bit about golf and some of the injuries we see with golf. So this is probably kind of a loaded question, but, what is that one injury or the injury you probably see the most, especially in the golf world?
Well, yeah, it's, low back is obviously the predominant injury that comes in. I find that there's a difference between the elite players and the amateurs as far as prevalence.
That's a question we got to top.
Yeah,
we can get into that when you want to, but yeah, for sure, lower back by far. Yeah,
I've been on Jeff's table many times, and I usually show up with complaints and questions, and his answers are always the same. And I always expect I'm going to get some kind of different answer.
Yeah, no, they don't change.
Right.
They don't change.
So it's like, So literally, that's what I was going to say. Is there anything that stands out to you? What can you kind of pinpoint what goes between the weekend warrior and more of the elite player, as far as whether it's spinal compression, whatever you talk, right?
Yeah, so as far as injury goes?
Yeah, just injury or ailment, whatever.
Yeah, so the elite players, obviously their biomechanics are much more sound than the amateurs. So they have less moving parts, less injury, and then you have the weekend warriors who their biomechanics are not optimal, which obviously leads to an array of
I keep
ailments.
looking at Dean when you say that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, the camera's over here. Why do you keep staring?
Yeah, but that's, obviously you guys know this is, those that don't understand this biomechanics tend to have more injuries. So, we see also that interesting is most. Yeah, so the weekend warrior golf injuries that it's the same injury, elite versus weekend warrior. It's just obviously more prevalent with the warrior because of bad biomechanics.
So, and when you say biomechanics, obviously, the twisting of the spine is obviously, and we kind of kid around about this when I've been in your office on your table, the spine and the lower back and just the body is not really made for golf. The golf swing is very much dangerous. It's something to do to the spine.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the golf swing is, there's a lot of traumatic events that happen in the golf swing, right?
Especially in my golf swing.
Yeah, I was thinking about this on the way here. Most golfers are like me. They're running to the tee box with their shoes untied. Tees are falling out of their pocket.
Right.
And then they start hacking on the tee box and just wailing on it, right? And versus the elite player, they get there way beforehand and they go through this whole routine and get their body ready. I think low back is obviously the king of the hill when it comes to injuries. And also, a lot of it, not to get too technical, but a lot of people come in with low back pain, and when we talk about biomechanics, it's not actually the low back. We talk about swing, rotational sports, and whatnot. That I find that whether it's baseball, golf, tennis, people come in with lower back pain, and it's usually not the back that's a culprit. It's their lead hip, right? And
Really?
golfers is a big one, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have that internal rotation on your lead hip, you have to make that movement up somewhere, and it usually comes with the low back. So you have internal rotation of the left hip. You have what they call, the reverse spine angle, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
that's a big one with amateurs. You don't see that in the pros.
Right.
You're not going to see that in the pros. So there's a lot of reasons for the high prevalence of low back pain.
And so, TPI, so if anybody doesn't know TPI, it's Titleist Performance Institute. You went and got certified there, and obviously, you with your vast background of just obviously what you do, but the people you've worked with on the PGA Tour, Champions Tour, whatever. Yeah. It's is there anything in the TPI realm that you learned from your schooling that you're already doing, and when it comes to golf? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Really, to me, what the biggest that I got out of it is they really dive deep into the research and muscle activation and things like that I really never cared about.
When it comes to golf in general.
Yeah, when it comes to golf in general. So, learning some things like that. I'll give you an example, which was really surprising to me. We talk every time patients come into I know I need to lose a little weight, but
right.
golf is, my golf is being affected because of low back pain. Well, research shows that below average BMI, which means the typical tall, slender golfer, has a higher prevalence of low back pain than the shorter, maybe heavier side.
Dino's got hope.
Yes.
Right? So who knew? Who knew? And I think it's because I can't tell you this factually, but just logically thinking it out, I think it's the more range of motion you have, the more room for injury.
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense. I mean, the tall, slender guy can probably go, big, huge turn.
Now, with that being said, also, when we pull out the driver and we wail at the ball, they also show that when you hit the ball with the driver, you're putting 4 times your body weight on your low back. So that's not beneficial.
I didn't know that.
And
I know it's more.
This is why the bigger guys tend to injure themselves with the driver, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
I'm screwed.
So
you better tone her down a little bit.
I gotta lay off the Twinkies.
you better swing half speed of the driver from now on.
Yeah. That's all I can do anyway, without disaster. Well, I refer to it as the unwinding spring every time I touch one off. So
yeah. And then you look at these, these guys that've been golfing forever, and you look at their swing. His name eludes me. What's the South African who's 100 years old now or something like that? Gary Player.
Gary Player.
Super simple swing, nice and flat. He doesn't have a whole lot going on, and
he's one of the guys before it was popular was into fitness and took care of his body and everything else.
Yeah, and still is. I mean, amazing. But if you look at his, I guess my point is, you look at his morphology, his stature. He's not super tall. He's got some things going for him.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I don't. My golf swing has nothing going for it. Probably my teacher. Maybe that's part of it.
I don't know who that is.
Well, hey, we talked a little bit about this a few minutes ago, and you kind of talked about the everyday warrior. We scream out there to the tee box and wail away, and you said about these elite athletes who take their time. So is there anything some tips you could give us weekend warrior guys that we should be doing, maybe some exercises or something we should be doing before we get out there and start hitting that golf ball?
So let's compare the elite, what they do, and then maybe we can dial that back a little bit so it's palatable.
We're going to scalpel this thing. Right?
Yeah. So, on tour, you guys maybe know this, but they have it's basically like a container you see in an 18-wheeler. Like it's this big vessel.
Trailers.
Trailers, the treatment trailers. So in there, they have half of it is set up for just open space for stretching and band work and whatnot, and the other half is there's a chiropractor on one side, which is what I do, and then on the other side there's 2 physical therapists. So these players, before their tee time, obviously they get out at a relatively early time so they can view it, with daylight. They'll start rolling in about 6:45 in the morning, and they'll get on the spin cycle, they'll warm up, and then once they're done with the spin cycle, they'll go through maybe do some real light weights. Then they transition over to the physical therapist, and the physical therapist will go through some very basic range of motion stuff with them to get them warmed up. They'll stretch them a little bit. Then they come on my table. I adjust what needs to be adjusted. And then when they're done with that, they get back on the floor and they go through this whole routine of stretches and range of motion. And then they hit the driving range. Okay? And then they go play their round. And then when they're done with their round, guess what? They come back in the trailer and they do it all over again.
Yeah.
And they do that every day, every single day. So obviously that's their job and they have time for that.
Right.
But just to put it in perspective,
Sure.
what we don't do as amateurs.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how they keep doing what they're doing at a high level. So what can we do? If we can take that and boil it down, it's when we warm up, we typically, like I said, we run to the tee box and start wailing on the tee box. And maybe if we took a little more time to warm up from the inside out, and what I mean by that is, carry a stretch band in your bag and wrap it around the cart cover and do some peel-off presses or resistance rotation to activate your core. When you're done with that, then go through your golf swing lightly and warm up. But there's so much.
Sure.
That's a loaded question. There's so
Sure.
much we can do. Is there one silver bullet? No. Everyone's a little different, but I think warming up and activating the muscles, which most of us don't do. We just go through and we swing until we don't have pain anymore, and then we think we're ready.
I'm loose.
But activating
not
the
aching.
muscle, doing some resistance stuff to activate it, I think would suit players more than just swinging a club. And
Well, something sticks out to me always being on your table. You're like, sometimes it's not about the stretching of the muscle or whatever. It's about the internal temperature of the body. It's just being warmed up and whatever.
absolutely. And I mean, that's a big one. We know that. I mean, you've had some injuries when it's cold out, I think.
Bro, yeah. I'm always, every winter I show up. It's like, there's a reason you're here in like January, not in like July. And it's like, and that's very important, I think. It's just, even if it's something just doing jumping jacks or something stupid by just getting internal temperature up, right?
Well, I mean, I always tell you, I almost feel like I got to get a little sweat going before you really feel good when you're out playing. It's like you said, you kind of get that warm up and then things kind of feel loose. And
absolutely. And that's what you do, I mean, you watch the pros, like I said, they get on their bike, they warm up. And it's like a lattice type of progression.
I mean, a boxer is an extreme, right? But look at those guys. They come out just a sweat on. They're loose and they're, warmed up and muscles are ready to go. So,
obviously staying within yourself, that's why I play my whole round with the 5-iron.
This guy can hit a 5-iron, I tell you what. I was just gonna say, so when it comes to whether it's spinal compression, whatever, we could name a couple little terms, but is there you think there's a myth out there that people just think when it comes to golf or rotational sports or lower back pain or whatever, what's it, in your opinion, do you have any myths out there that you could probably say, this is not really how people think it is? Does that make sense?
Myth. I don't know about myth. I mean, like I said,
misunderstanding or something.
I think the biggest thing is the hips.
Okay, the hips are very important. Obviously,
is lack of internal rotation in the hip. I mean, if you think about it, if you don't have that internal rotation, you can't swing through the ball. So those that don't have that rotation find that motion somewhere else, and it's usually reverse spine angle, or they get super armsy, and that's where injury comes. So as far as miss with rotation, it's usually lack of internal rotation of the left hip
for a right-hander.
For a right-hander, yeah, for sure. And then the other myth, which I already touched on, was BMI, right?
Yeah, that is crazy. That really surprised me.
That surprised me too. But I can't think of any myths. Can you think of anything that you've read or?
No, I think. Well, we were just talking when I was on your table about what did you bring out about? We say hips, but the actual hip flexors.
Oh yeah. Well, so yeah, yep. So what they found was that most golfers perceive their issues coming from tight hips.
Yeah.
And they found that that just isn't the case. What's interesting about when you talk about predictors of low back pain with golfers is, number one, we talked about BMI, having a below average BMI. Another one is side plank strength. So they found that if there's a difference of 12.5 seconds from right side to left side in strength, right? So you're doing side
just
plank.
being able to hold it longer.
Yeah, that's the second highest predictor of low back pain if there's a large differential.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, because you have a backswing, which is engaging,
One side.
obliques on one side, and then you have your follow through, which is other side. So if there's a large differential there, high predictability of low back pain.
So you know what we're doing after this? We're going to the simulator room where we're going to record Dino's planking. We got
Great.
This is going to be some great content. Dino's going to be planking.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
It's crazy. It's
just for
weird.
golfers to build that balance. That can eliminate one of those things. BMI. What's the other one? So yeah, the hip flexors. Although it's a common complaint, research shows it really doesn't. It doesn't add.
That makes sense.
It's not a causation of low back pain, and that was relatively new to me. I mean, I figured that out. I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. I was wailing on everyone's hip flexors, but it's not as important as we thought. Obviously, you need strength, but and then the last one is again internal hip rotation. Yeah.
I mean, the other thing, age. I mean, I have to believe, obviously, as we get older, things get tighter, less flexibility.
Yeah.
I would assume as we get older, we probably should take a little bit more time to warm up and prep.
Yeah, not only warm up and prep. I mean, let's face it, if you don't have mobility in the joints and you're not getting them back, you have to amend your swing a little bit and stay within the parameters of what you got.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? So what a lot of people do, we talk about internal hip rotation is, maybe open up your left, if you're a right-hand golfer, open up your left hip a little bit. So it's, you provide that. But, you have to warm up and stay within your boundaries, I think.
One of the things TPI really touches on is basically saying, if you don't have the swing to be able to do what you want to do, you have to change your body mechanics.
Yeah.
Somehow you have to work on it, whether it's flexibility or strength, whatever, or you have to change your swing to match your body mechanics.
Yeah.
And that's just a thing. That takes commitment in either way.
It does.
It does.
It's hard to bring up too as a provider. Like the last thing I want to tell someone is like, "Oh, you need to change your swing." I am not a swing coach,
Right.
But I know you can't do what you're doing.
Right. Exactly.
Your flexibility is not there for that. You're just not able to make that.
Yeah, you should probably take up pool or something.
Yeah. Just to get used to hitting your 7-iron 117. It's like so.
Yeah.
So Jeff, tell us this. I mean, for like you've caddied on the LPGA tour now, and you have who do you have guys stay with you guys during the Dow Championship?
Celine Boudier.
Okay, so that's pretty. Tell us about that experience a little bit, because you were telling me some stories.
Yeah, pretty cool. I mean, she's she's very reserved and very focused. Obviously, she's one of the top golfers. But it's kind of interesting to just talking with her and learning her progression and background and seeing the level of focus that these girls have is really amazing. I mean, there's a difference, Well, there's not a big difference between a higher end amateur golfer and pros. Like a lot of these people they're not that far apart. The difference is their consistency, their ability to repeat it over and over, day in and day out, and it's focus, right?
Yeah.
They're laser focused, which is unbelievable.
Yeah.
But over the last 3 or 4 years now, we've developed a pretty good relationship, her and our family, and we always congratulate her when she does well in her tournaments all over the world, and
that's cool.
Nice.
Kind of cool to see.
Yeah, it's really cool.
See her do extremely well. I mean, she had a freaking killer year this year.
Yeah, that's what you're telling
I
me.
was just watching her last night, and she, I think she was even, and the leader was 7. I don't know where she finished, but man, she was crawling up that leaderboard quick.
Nice.
I didn't find out where she finished though.
Now, is there anything like just kind of, we'll try to start to wrap up, but like any type of, you've been in the trailers with the Champions Tour and the PGA Tour, any cool stories or anything that just kind of like just sticks in your mind, or probably a lot, anything you can say on air?
I can't mention names for HIPAA reasons, but
Yeah, exactly.
I can tell you this: there was I don't know if I should say this, but I'll say it anyway. There was this player that came in. You guys probably figure out who it is. I'm just sitting there, and there was, a handful of big names in there, and this person walks in, and everyone just kind of, it's like the seas parted.
Right. Yeah.
He comes up to me and he says, kind of whispering in my ear, "Do you treat nutsacks?"
Oh boy.
Yeah. And I didn't know where to go with that. I didn't know whether it was a joke or what, but I mean,
Did somebody put him up to it or something?
dead serious. And of course I answered no. And lo and behold, there was a little injury that happened, swinging the club, and we did some treatment. And later that day, I think he finished second that day. He was second on the leaderboard, and ESPN was interviewing him. And at the end of the session, we always instruct players if they need anything. There's some NSAIDs or over the counter stuff, so we directed them back there. And when he was being interviewed by ESPN, he said, "Well, we were in the trailer, and the guys gave me some pills."
Uh-oh.
Yeah, did not. Yeah, so that was that went over like a fart in church.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's a great experience. Those guys are just like our boys when we play golf.
Yeah,
It's
right.
just a lot of fun. They're just like you and I. They love the game. There's a lot of banter back and forth, and yeah, it's a ton of fun.
Yeah. Hey, so you heard it here. Nutsack adjustments can help your golf game.
Yeah.
So Jeff, we stated earlier in the beginning, owner of Midland and Freeland Sports Rehab. So what kind of services you guys do there, and anybody listening, how?
Yeah, I think the thing that would resonate most with the listeners is, we try to provide a low barrier of entry for people. Like let's use golfers, right?
Yeah.
Your audience is injury screens that don't cost you a penny. You come in, we have one of our people just kind of sit down with you briefly, hear you out, and try to disseminate you in the right place, whether it's just advice or treatment recommendations or whatnot. So I think that's probably most applicable to your audience. And if you guys want to, pick our brains and see if there's something you can be doing better, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
I
Great.
tell you, I've been on his table. I mean, their staff over there, incredible. I've been out there a lot. I mean, it's
appreciate
top
that.
notch. It's freaking.
Yeah, thank you.
It's the best in
Yeah.
town. It's the best in Tri-Cities.
Well-
I'm biased, but
Well, obviously, Jeff, thank you so much for your
Pleasure.
time
Yeah,
today.
it's fun.
Any other information you can give about where they can contact you, your office, get a hold of?
Probably the easiest thing is go to midlandsportsrehab.com. All the info is right there, and hit us up if you need us.
great team. So hey,
Yeah.
you guys heard it. So everybody,
Get over
Thanks.
here.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
guys. Thanks, I'm out first.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
bye. Thanks.
Jump on board, guys.
Thanks everyone for sticking around and hearing what we had to blab about here at Playing Through.
And remember, if you want to become an official MFer, please like and subscribe.